I grew up living in my parents' office building, and I quickly realized, like, it was a rogue business. The roofing space was really, really rogue.
Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Olympia in the building, Tony Taveras, my man. I love your energy.
Well, I'm not Mr. Olympia. I've competed at the Olympia, so I gotta check that right. So
okay.
Yeah, I was there at the Olympia a couple of years back with C-Bomb. So
that's still a big deal, man.
Yeah, it was cool. I was about number 16 in the world. So.
Damn. And that's competitive.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
There's millions of people that want that title, you know?
Yes, sir.
So to be number 16, hats off to you. And you did it in such a short amount of time.
Yep.
I was reading your stuff. It takes the average person, 8 years to get into that level, and you did it in 2.5 years.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing run and experience, and was all within about 4 or 5 years. Ended up getting into the sport, won my first show, and in my third show, I won the overall at Universe, which was in Jersey.
Damn.
And crazy story about that show, walking into that national show. I actually had a hernia.
Whoa.
Open up 6 weeks before that show, was about to commence. And so, I had a decision to make walking into that show. Do I continue? And I ended up pushing through, ended up winning the overall national title at Universe.
Doesn't that injury normally take years to recover?
No. I mean, you typically can have a surgery and bounce back in a couple of months.
Oh, okay.
But ended up having surgery right after. Ended up going on and having top three finishes. Won the Dallas Europa. Went to the Arnold, which was Arnold Schwarzenegger's show. It was one of 10 athletes invited to that. And then last show I did was the Olympia, and this was about 2.5 years ago.
Baller, man.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet Arnold?
Yeah. Arnold's a good dude.
What'd you say to him?
Yeah. I didn't really say much to him. I just shook his hand, and it was busy. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet he was getting hounded out there.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he's the GOAT though, right? That's the OG. That's probably why you started.
Yeah, he's incredible. To see what he's done after bodybuilding has been incredible.
Right.
With the movies, with politics. I mean, he didn't just stop in bodybuilding. He took his mentality and he grew from there.
Yeah, and that's inspiring, right? Because in bodybuilding, you peak at a certain age. You can't do that forever. So to see him transition must have been pretty inspirational for you. Did you have a plan of what you would do after that bodybuilding?
Bodybuilding, really wasn't the main thing. Bodybuilding just ended up coming about. I was actually dating a girl years back, and it was on her bucket list. So it wasn't even part of my plan.
Oh, it was on her bucket list.
It was on her bucket list, and it ended up becoming, one of my big things of my life. I mean, I was an ex-football player.
Yeah.
Played ball at North Texas. Ended up having a pretty bad injury, and ended up getting to the fitness space. I was one of the top training directors at LA Fitness for many years. Ended up becoming their youngest vice president for LA Fitness. Ended up helping scale that company. So bodybuilding ended up just happening. I had a love for fitness and a passion for lifting weights, but it just kind of came into the story about 7 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
And at LA Fitness, you climbed the ranks. What do you think made you stand out there? Because you had a lot of coworkers that were there for years prior to even you getting there, and you just shot through the ranks.
Yeah. So, I started LA Fitness. I was 21 years old. I was a kid. I was a green bean. I didn't really know sales at the time. I was just going off of energy and excitement and my love for lifting weights. And I was basically taking people through their initial workouts and assessments, and basically uncovering, what their goals were. And so, I just had a passion for it and a love for helping people. But I think ultimately what allowed me to rise up the ranks was, the belief in myself that I could. I talk about something with my company now and my leaders, and I ask people, I said, what do they think is more important? Is it ability? Is it knowledge? Or is it belief? And, some people think, well, I need to know what to do, or I need this ability to execute. But really, in fact, when you believe that you can do it and you can become one of the best, you're going to figure it out, right? So I ended up burning the boats when I went into LA Fitness. I actually dropped out of school.
Damn.
So, my parents were on me with discipline. I was recruited by Harvard and Princeton. So
holy crap.
Yeah, walking away from school was no joke to my dad. So, I ended up burning the boats, and I had this belief in myself that I could be one of the best in the organization. And I worked at it every single day, and I had a passion behind it, and I was able to separate myself very quickly.
So when you say burning the boat, shout out to the Hustle Daily Show, guys. Part of the HubSpot network, which is the audio destination for business builders. The Hustle Daily Show is your daily dose of business, tech, and news, and they got original stories which keeps you in the loop on what's trending in the business world. It's very important to stay up to date on what's trending, guys. Right now, obviously, crypto's hot. There's tons of opportunities there. They have over 3 million young readers on their daily email, and it keeps you in the loop on what's going on, like I said earlier. And they now have a daily podcast called The Hustle Daily Show, where their team of writers break down the biggest business headlines in 10 minutes or less. In today's modern age of no one having an attention span, that makes it easy for everyone. They do deep dives on topics like how a man won the lottery 14 times and why it's nearly impossible to buy a modern day Bob Ross painting. I checked out a few episodes. They recently did one on 3D printing houses, which I thought was super interesting. Search for The Hustle Daily Show in your favorite podcast app, guys, like the one you're using right now. Now here's the show. You say burning the boats, you're saying you cut off the relationship with your parents for a bit?
No. Burn the boats in terms of the path of school and that path that I was on.
Got it.
So basically, I couldn't drop out of school and then walk into this path and say, hey, Dad, I'm going to go be a director at LA Fitness and then fail. So, I had no
other
plan
trope.
B. I had no plan C. And so I had to figure it out. And then I quickly rose up the ranks. I became the youngest VP in the company at 24 years old, became a regional. I was on the acquisition team. So I was in the fitness space for about 8-9 years at the highest level in the game.
Yeah.
And so I was at the point where I was making $250K a year. I was doing well. I was running the whole west coast of Florida for LA Fitness. So Tampa all the way down to Naples, I ran all those sports clubs.
Crazy.
And I was 27 years old. So, and then I ended up having an opportunity with my mentor, the guy who actually interviewed me for my final interview at LA Fitness when I was 21 years old. I can't make up this story. He is the CEO of the company I'm with now.
Wow.
So, we were in LA Fitness. He was at a top executive VP for LA Fitness for over 20 years. And, I was his prodigy growing up in that business, in that organization. And then 8-9 years into LA Fitness, he shows me this model of the roofing game, like the roofing game. I knew nothing about roofing. And lo and behold, we ended up building this business, which I'm sure we're going to get into talking about today.
That's insane. So he left first and then he recruited you?
No, I actually flew out to meet him for his birthday one year. I mean, I was a regional at the time, ended up coming out to Texas to visit him for his birthday. And he shows me that he started this company on the side, just a small roofing company, linear roofing. He had about 3 roofers on the side, and he shows me the model, shows me how the insurance game worked. And my parents at the time owned one of the largest insurance licensing companies in America. So I grew up living in my parents' office building, watching them work with insurance carriers like Chubb, AIG, some of the biggest carriers in the world.
Right.
And I quickly realized, it was a rogue business. The roofing space was really, really rogue. I mean, you had guys that were just not following through with their word, running away with checks from customers. I mean, it was like the wild, wild west.
Wow.
So when he showed me the model, I was like, man, there's an opportunity. If we come into this space and we bring a level of professionalism and salesmanship and the culture that we were able to build for our regions at LA Fitness at the time, and we can translate that into our own business, I said, the sky's the limit. So I ended up resigning from my regional VP role where I was making great money.
Yeah, $250 a year is
$250 a year. I was 27, and I sold all my stuff. I moved out to Texas, and I started knocking doors in the roofing space.
Wow.
Yeah, this was about 9 years ago.
That's crazy. What were your parents' reaction to you leaving that job?
Yeah, at that point, it was interesting because now my dad trusts my instincts at this point, right? So, and he knew Kurt. His name is Kurt Lennington, who's the CEO, is one of my mentors. And, they said, man, if you're doing it with Kurt, I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm sure you're going to do great things. So they trusted me. But everyone else around me thought I was nuts. They thought I was crazy. I mean,
it's a big shift.
Yeah, it was a big shift. And it was an industry that, typically it's, thought of at the time, blue collar, you're knocking doors, it's not glamorous. And I just put my head down and started figuring it out and started knocking doors. And basically I had to look at it. I had no bad habits. I wasn't in the roofing space. I knew nothing about roofing. So I was able to come in with a blank canvas, so to speak, and basically create a process and try and understand if I was a homeowner on the other side, how would I like to be treated through this insurance claims process? how would I like to be talked to? How would I like to be approached? How would I like to be, signed up on the table? And we just started one by one by one, evolved it. And now, we have a process where I could bring in a pizza boy into our company and organization with our training and our boot camps. And we could get someone with no salesmanship, no ability, no experience. We can get them making, over $200,000 a year very fast.
Wow.
Very, very fast.
So people really buy roofing door to door?
Oh, I mean, well, it's the insurance. It's an insurance restoration space. So storm damage. I mean,
Right.
there's 100,000 contractors across the U.S. I mean, the industry is massive. So all these storms that occur across the country, talk about hurricanes, tornadoes, hailstorms. I mean, it's constant, and it seems like it's getting worse.
There were some floods here last week, actually, in
Was
Vegas.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was crazy. Flash floods.
Yeah, so we don't deal as much with the flooding. We more so deal with the roofing and things that can get damaged from, hail and wind and those kind of things. But, the damage is significant because when hailstones come down, you're talking about 2-inch, 3-inch hailstones. These are like meteors coming down from the sky, and they're compromising your roofing system. You don't really realize it. If you're driving around in your car and you're in a hailstorm, your windshield gets cracked, you act immediately because you see it. It's a pain point. But for us, basically, we're teaching those in our organization to be able to go out to these affected areas where sometimes an affected area has, 400,000 or 500,000 homes that are affected. But most homeowners, 30% of them may file a claim when that storm happens. But there's another 70% of them that don't. They're just not aware.
Wow.
So our guys go out. They knock doors, they make them aware, they do an inspection, they walk them through the process, we call insurance, and then we're able to replace the roof and do it the right way. So it's a big industry.
And the key is it's such a great service, right? Because they're not paying you. You're getting paid from the insurance.
Yes.
So there's no risk on their end.
There you go. So all they simply have to do is pay a deductible.
Right.
So customers paying a deductible, it's almost like, if I was having open heart surgery, my life is on the line. Am I going to go with the surgeon with 30 years of experience with all the accreditations, or am I going to go with someone that just got out of college, just got his degree, and just is starting to figure it out?
Right.
I'm going to go with the best of the best if insurance is paying it. And so, if all they have to pay is the deductible, and we knock it out the park from start to finish.
I love it. Talk to me about the transition the first year. So from LA Fitness, you moved to Texas. That first year, how tough was that?
Man. First year had nobody that taught me any scripts. So you talk about knocking doors in Texas. I'm a big dude, right? I'm a big dude knocking people's door.
I think you're robbing them.
I've had a gun.
Damn.
I've had someone show up to the door with a gun.
Holy
this
crap.
is serious stuff. So that first year was it was tough, but I knew I had no plan B, no plan C, so I had to figure it out. I remember nights in that first year where I was up till 1, 2 a.m. in the morning just writing down scripts.
Wow.
How would I approach someone at a door? What do I need to say? Because most people in the roofing space, they're simply knocking a door and they're trying to give away something free. They don't have much value in themselves. So in my approach with how I teach our sales organization is you have to assume the sale. You have to go with confidence that they need us. We don't need them, right? So with everything that we do, we're assuming that sale. And for instance, most roofers get off that roof, and the first thing that they want to do is they want to throw the damage in someone's face. They want to show them all the damage that they have because they're looking to make a sale.
Right.
But really, you should be trying to educate that person and overcoming the objections that you already know that you're going to face. And then you're able to show the damage. You're just educating them on the process. And then ultimately, when you've given them all this education, they understand that, insurance would rather be proactive than reactive. They want to pay for this now. Like, your roof is compromised. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when you're going to have leaks coming into your home. It's like they're at the point where they're asking you what to do. I'm the doctor, right? So it gets to the point where you're just telling them, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And so that's the approach that my guys have. It's very different than many in the roofing space.
Have that confidence. Yeah, when someone's confident, it definitely impacts the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think of Andy Elliott and the way he trains?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I don't follow Andy as much. Eric Thomas is one of my good buddies.
Yeah.
I work with him often. Patrick Bet-David, I think, is fantastic. I don't study Andy's material much, but he has great content.
Yeah, he's
no
all
doubt
over the
about
place
it.
these days, man.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
A couple of your tweets and IG posts I want to talk about. You got pretty emotional on some of them. You said your mom wrote you a letter that changed your life. What happened there?
That's right. I was in college. I mean, that's when I ended up having a bad injury in football. You know, my dream at that time was to go to the NFL. That was in my dream. I was, you know, since I was 8 years old, all I wanted to do was play ball in the NFL. And I remember I got cut on a kickoff actually my freshman redshirt year. Hip and pelvis came out of alignment. Sciatic nerve was jacked up. Yeah, I couldn't even walk.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I was seeing a specialist for months. I had these sharp pains coming up my pelvis, and I ended up having to leave the sport. And there was about a 3 to 6 month period there where I just went into darkness. I got into fraternities. I started doing, you know, the wrong things, hanging out with the wrong people. And, you know, I remember my mom ended up sending me this letter and said, I didn't raise my son to be this way.
Wow.
And, you know,
how'd she find out about it?
When you get a letter like that from your mom, she saw what I was doing. She saw I was going down on the wrong path. I mean, you know, I remember I had this crazy breakup in college and I ended up calling him at 3 a.m, calling my dad. And so I was in that zone. I was in a dark place. I was around the wrong people. And so she just needed to jolt me at the time. You know, my dad always said, son, when your light bulb switch turns on, you're going to be unstoppable.
Right.
And thank God that it ended up turning on pretty quick after that. And I ended up, you know, taking the path that I've taken now.
That's big, man, because a lot of people get in that phase, right? That dark phase, and they stay in it.
Absolutely.
But you were able to get out of it quick.
Yep.
You know, because I know, you know, that's a common thing with college people. And I had someone on last week. He said he lost 30 friends to overdoses in his fraternity.
Damn.
Yeah. It's
Unreal.
a real problem, man.
Yeah.
That fraternity life, I mean, there's pros to it with the networking and stuff, but sometimes with the parties, people get wrapped up in that stuff.
Yeah. That's why I ended up leaving school. I ended up figuring out it wasn't for me. It was a lie. It was fake. I was running around partying. I wasn't studying. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do in school. And I said, I need to figure my life out here. And that's when I took the leap into LA.
Same, man. Yeah, I dropped out sophomore year. And
Did you?
Just like you said, parties, just trying to hook up with girls. It wasn't productive, man, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know? When there's that many distractions around you as a young man who grew up in a disciplined life, especially yourself with strict parents, temptations give in.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to control sometimes.
Yeah.
You also read a book that changed your life called The Alchemist.
Man, that book right there. Read it about 2 years ago. Shifted everything.
Wow. So recently.
Everything. Yeah. And it's crazy because I ended up seeing this book on a Will Smith video, Secrets to Success by Will Smith. I was just studying people. I was coming up in the game, and you know, I'm constantly every morning trying to line my mind and my thoughts up with positive energy and frequency. That way I can go into my day and exude these positive things and new messages that I've received in the morning. So I ended up watching a Will Smith video, and he talked about that was one of his favorite books. So I ended up going and getting it. But that book talking about the fact that...
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
You know, if you want something bad enough, the universe will actually conspire to help you go get it. And the more and more that I start to realize and I start to understand the internal and the source and being able to tap into God, because it talks about in that book, it talks about that we are all one, that we are all from the same source. We are all from the same power, right? And that we are creators ourselves, right? And I truly believe that. You know, I'm reading another book now called Conversations with God, but it's very much in alignment with The Alchemist, and it talks about a lot of the same things. It talks about 3 different laws in that book. You know, the first law it talks about, you know, thoughts are pure energy and thoughts are very creative. And whatever you think, you can do, you can become, you can have anything you want. And I really believe that based on everything I've been able to do and manifest in my life over the last couple of years. The second law it talks about emotion and how that power attracts. Emotion attracts, and it talks about how fear attracts like energy. The third one it talks about love is all there is. Love is all there ever will be. And when you're in love and experiencing love, you're at the highest truth of God.
Wow.
So when you align all that together, I truly believe that your thoughts can create a reality, whatever you deem to visualize. Like right now, for instance, I'm getting ready for my next Olympia run, right? And just an example of this, whenever I'm in alignment, like the Alchemist talks about, when you're in alignment with your personal legend, you're on the path of your personal legend, you are going to be hearing things from the universe. You're going to be seeing omens. You're going to be seeing things that confirm that you're on the right path of your destiny.
Agreed.
Right? And so like right now, for instance, I'll be going to the gym. I wake up every day at 5:30 in the morning. I head to the gym and I'm in the vehicle and I'm visualizing in my head, because I understand this power of being able to think what you want and be able to put emotion behind it, because that emotion's going to attract. And I just find myself crying.
Wow. I
literally find myself going to the gym in tears, thinking about the moment, being on stage again, winning my next pro title. And that's how I know I'm in alignment. That's how I know I'm on the path. Like if people are not feeling that type of emotion towards whatever they're after, they have to really think about, am I on the path that I'm supposed to be internally for my soul?
Yeah. Dude, I love that. There's very few people that I meet that are really in alignment, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong mission for some people, and some people never reach alignment.
For
you
sure.
know, I've had my own father. He never forgave his parents for certain things, and his whole life he lived with that on his chest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to see you have that, and I could feel it, man. The first thing I said to you was, I love your energy.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I notice about people when I meet them, their energy. Because you could feel that if you're really in touch.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember years back when I'm in my darkest moments, even when I had the most money I ever had at that time, up to that point, there was times that I was in the darkest place mentally that I had ever been.
Wow.
It's like living in all this material stuff. Like these are just suits on us right now. It's like there's so much more to the internal and to figuring out why are we really here. And it also just understanding now, even reading just a lot of these type of books talking about why are we really here? And for me now, it's to truly create the person I want to be. I want to become someone that will inspire others to want to create their dream life for themselves, right? So it's just an ever ongoing process of becoming who you want to be. You got to decide, who do you want to be? Do you want to be someone that's known as being disciplined and loving and a great father and someone that is stepping up to the plate and positive for everyone around them? And you got to decide that for yourself and step into that every single day.
Absolutely. And when you dive into that spiritual journey, it's interesting because sometimes your friends aren't there to support it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've had to cut off some people that didn't share your vision,
Absolutely.
right? And I had to do the same. And it's interesting because you realize they were holding you back in a way.
100%.
You know? But as I've met a lot of successful entrepreneurs, and it's part of the game, because if you hang out with them, they're kind of holding you back, you know?
Absolutely.
So
they're going to drain you.
Yeah. Was that a tough decision for you?
Oh, yeah.
Cutting off
absolutely.
some childhood?
I cut off a lot of people over the last few years. I've made a lot of decisions that, society around me may have looked at like, oh, that's wrong. There is no right and wrong in this thing. In this game of life, there really is no right and wrong. So I don't look at people and think, oh, they're wrong for doing that, because that's my perception. I'm judging. I don't need to judge anyone. Once I really understand what this is all about, that's not real.
Interesting.
That's fraudulent. That's fake.
Wow, so, we're getting deep here.
Yeah, we're getting deep. There's no right and wrong. It's whatever you make it, whatever you want this time on earth to be.
I try my best, because I used to be super judgmental, right?
Yes.
I grew up in a household where that was common, and it rubbed off on me for a while. I try my best not to judge, and when I do find myself judging, it's usually due to an insecurity of mine.
100%.
But it takes, certain awareness to get to that stage.
Yep.
Because a lot of people have that victim mentality.
Yep.
A lot of people talk, they learned it in school, gossiping, and it's really toxic, honestly.
It is, because then you allow, once you, to your point, when you have that awareness, you stop giving a about what anyone thinks.
Exactly.
You do not care.
Yeah.
You just step into your truth. You know, and one of the other books I love is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. The first agreement is being impeccable with your word, but being impeccable to your core for me, and stepping into that truth, right? If you can live in your own truth, who cares what anybody else thinks? As long as you're happy with yourself.
Facts. And you also realize people are innately selfish, right? So I was scared to post on social media for 6 years, and I didn't do any podcasts or anything, even though I had all these amazing guests that I could have on. And looking back, it was because I feared what people thought of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have that fear, but when you start posting, people don't really give a shit, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed.
Fear's an interesting one, because really when it comes down to it, the two things that encompass everything is fear and love. Fear and love. Everything that we're doing, every communication that we have, it's either stemming from fear or stemming from love, in my opinion. And so when you start to realize that, which the third law I was talking about, love is all there is, then you're trying to figure out in every moment, how can I step into love rather than stepping from a place of fear?
Wow. That's deep.
And I'm trying to live it. Now, I'm not there fully yet, but I'm thinking about it. I'm aware of it. I'm like, how do I, even in a situation at work, you know, where I have an employee or a contractor doing something that they maybe weren't supposed to be doing. How do I approach this person and correct this person and do it out of a place of love? Because I care about this person. I want to see them succeed. I want to see them win. So I start thinking about that, living out of that energy space always.
I love that. This year I'm working on my biggest fear and trying to overcome it. My biggest fear is conflict. So when I was a kid, if there was an argument, I would walk away.
Wow.
I was an avoidant personality.
Yeah.
So that's what I do now in business. When there's disagreements, I step away. And it's actually really bad because you don't address the problem. Yeah. So this year I'm really working on it, and it's tough.
Damn.
Yeah.
You got to attack what you fear.
Yeah.
You got to attack it, and so you can get better at it. But it's interesting you say that, because when it comes to hitting things head on with conflict, something that was big for our sales organization this year when we started the year, I ended up having a meeting with everyone, all of my team leads, and an underlying tone that we're talking about often is, you know, there was a quote that I read the other day from Doc Rivers. You know, average players, they want to be left alone. Good players want to be coached. The great players want to be told the truth. They want to be told the absolute truth. You think Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant didn't want Phil Jackson to dissect their game and tell them, how do you become the best in the world? Right. So it's like we're talking about those things to my leaders. So now when we do have conflict, because there's conflict all the time in business as you're scaling and growing an organization. There's always going to be stuff happening. But I'm letting them know that if you want to be great, you're going to want to be told the truth. And discipline, and we're talking about discipline with our organization, the only way you really find discipline is if you allow yourself to tell yourself the truth. Because most people will lie to themselves and tell themselves that they're doing great when they really ain't doing and they're underperforming, or they're not being who they should be. And so they fool themselves and they don't find discipline. But if you tell yourself the truth, discipline will find you. So we're talking about these things because when we do have conflict now, we're going to hit it head on. I'm going to tell you straight up exactly what I think. And I'm going to look at you in the eyes and I'm going to tell you the truth with what we need to do to correct this. Because once again, you want to be great, don't you?
Right. Absolutely. Do you find when you tell people directly head on that their ego gets in the way sometimes?
Oh, absolutely. It does. And I think it comes down to me being able to get them to understand that I do have the best intentions for them. Right. You know, I think in, you know, some leaders or some sales organizations, they feel like maybe the people at the top don't have their best interest, or there's times where those leaders are missing half the time, and they're not really doing much themselves. So if you're a hypocrite and you're really not working, or you're not really showing up to be your best for the organization or whatever your craft every single day, it's very hard for those that are following you to respect you and listen to you. But if you're doing that and you're leading from the front, hell, they know I'm up every day, 5:30. I'm working out at 6:30. I'm grinding. I'm doing everything I can to become the best version of myself. And I just want the same for you. So if that's in alignment and they know that, then they know I'm never going to tell them something to hurt them. right? And so now our organization is just, our leadership is blossoming.
Love
with
that.
understanding these concepts
Yes.
of truth and discipline.
I love that because I've had minimal corporate experience, but the one job I did have, there was no respect for my boss because he didn't have that work ethic. So he would hop on calls once in a blue moon.
Yep.
I don't even know if he was working, honestly.
Yep.
And yeah, there's no respect there, you know?
Yep. You don't even want to listen to him.
No.
He can't coach you.
Nope.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to leadership styles, a lot of bosses rule by fear, right?
Yes.
You mess up, you're fired.
Yes.
That was like a common thing growing up. Do you see a shift in that lately?
A shift with what? With what?
Leadership styles, people being more, open to, I don't know how to word it, but.
Yeah, I do. I think you're still going to have those leaders out there that are still going to operate off of that, right? I think there's many types, but I think more people are becoming aware of these concepts of coming from a place of love, right? And it's definitely helped our shift. I mean, in corporate America, back when I was in the LA Fitness, corporate, there were a lot of situations where, people were managing based on that. And then eventually some people would get programmed where that was the only thing that they were used to.
Right.
So we've had a lot of people come on board to our company now, which was Linear Roofing, which is now Strong House Solutions, which were used to that fear management. So sometimes it takes a little while to get them to be able to perform and adapt and be motivated and inspired from a place of love, because they're looking for this fear type. They're looking for, if I don't perform, I'm going to lose my job. So I need that to move. So it is a shift, but I feel like it's the best thing to go on the side of love rather than fear.
Yeah,
100%,
absolutely.
all the time.
I agree. Some people try to not mix business and personal lives. Do you have an opinion on whether the two should be integrated within a company?
It's interesting, because when we were smaller, when we were coming up, we had 10 guys, then it's 20 guys. It was very easy to stay connected and you're always hanging out together. But as the company is scaling and now we're national, we're all over, you have to kind of separate it a little bit more. Okay. You have to protect yourself a little bit more. I think there's a place you need to understand what's going on in that person's personal life and be connected and understand their family and their why and their purpose and what's driving them, and truly care about their success and their progress with their personal and with their family. But that doesn't mean that now when I have 1,000 people in the organization that I could be in touch and a part of all of it, because then you're going to be spread too thin.
Right. Damn, you got 1,000?
Oh, yeah. I mean, now in the organization, we have 6 roofing companies under one umbrella.
Jeez.
We transacted with private equity a year and a half ago. Linear Roofing did, which I was a part of. I was the executive vice president with Linear Roofing.
Wow.
We transacted for the largest insurance residential roofing transaction ever.
Damn.
In the history of the space.
Can you say the amount or no?
No, it was over 100 million.
Holy.
But that was just residential roofing, right? So now we're with a platform, and now we have 6 roofing brands under one platform, and now we're acquiring other roofing brands across the space. So it's now, now we have a lot.
Insane.
It's a machine.
It's going to be $1 billion company.
So right now, I mean, in terms of revenue, we're going to be doing over this year over $500 million in revenue.
Crap.
So our evaluation is going to be over $1.5 billion when we go back to market. Well over.
Wow.
Well over. So
dude, hats off to you.
Yeah,
man.
We should be going back to market, I'm sure, by the beginning of next year.
And the fact you're doing that with the bodybuilding, that's 2 full-time jobs in one. And you got the spiritual side aligned too. It's super impressive, dude.
Yep, it's been cool. I mean, those two, and then, at one point as we were building this thing, I was able to get on HGTV.
Wow.
That was fun.
Sick.
That was cool. So I was able to ended up helping start a show called No Demo Reno with Jennifer Todrick. That was second on the show, so ended up doing that. So that kind of put the name out there a little bit more, and that was a fun experience.
Love that, man. Well, where can people find you, and do you have anything to promote?
Yeah, so you could find me Tony Goat _ Taveras. That's on IG, Facebook, Tony Taveras, and look up Strong House Solutions. The thing about Strong House Solutions now, I mean, when you think about it, storms are constant. We're going to be that national roofing company that's going to be able to be there for any storm that occurs across the country. That's what we're scaling to. We're scaling to the point where insurance carriers are going to want to partner with us directly. Wow. So when storms start to hit in those areas and in big cities, we'll be called out to help those carriers and get those roofs back to pre-storm conditions. So find us, Strong House Solutions. I run directly linear roofing as well. Yeah.
Love it, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Super inspirational.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for watching.
Absolutely.
As always. See you tomorrow.